Welcome back to Rival Sports. I'm JP, and the NFL season is finally here. Today, for a lot of the teams, including my Jets, it's the opening of training camp. Usually a lighter day. Come in, find your locker, do meetings with your positional group, with coaches, meet with the press for the first time in a while. Nothing too crazy. I don't even think they were on the field that much today. But you never know with the Jets what's going to happen. It's been a wild offseason. I think Aaron Rodgers going down early last year exposed a team that we thought was ready for a deep playoff run, maybe even a Super Bowl run, and in reality had a lot of weaknesses: offensive line, wide receiver, backup quarterback, for sure. And this offseason, Joe Douglas has done a fantastic job bringing in offensive line help, bringing back players that we loved, getting wide receiver help, but also drafting wide receiver, drafting offensive line, making sure that we have really a strong backup quarterback in Tyrod Taylor in case anything happens. If Rodgers has to go down for a week or two, Tyrod can hold the fort down, unlike the quarterbacks that we had on the team last year. So all in all, it's been an exciting offseason. We did lose some defensive players that we loved in JFM and Huff. Huff is someone who was undrafted. The Jets developed him into the player that he became. The way the Jets defensive line works, he was not an every down player. And, he was probably in maybe 40-50% of the snaps at most. And that actually ramped up from previous years. And I think, the Jets made a decision that for the price, they didn't think he was going to be able to take on the bigger workload and have the same impact. They really like to rest players and rotate players, and he wanted more playing time. He wants his money. So he went to the Eagles, which opened up an opportunity for the Jets to bring in Haasan Reddick. Haasan is someone who has dominated for the last 4 or 5 years in the league. Big time impact player. This year he's ranked 87 out of the top 100. And I think with the defense that we have, it's going to be amazing to see what we can do at the end of the game with a lead and just letting our defensive line just get after the quarterback. So we were definitely very excited to have him on board. But there was a little bit of fear with how he was leaving the Eagles, and the fact that when he came in, he did not have a new contract ready to go or a plan in place. At least the Jets thought they had a plan in place. Not the case, apparently, for Haasan Reddick. So it has been announced today that he is holding out. So Adam Schefter reported it. A bunch of other folks reported it. It was very obvious when he didn't show up to training camp. It's unfortunate because the Jets indicated that they truly did have an agreement with Reddick, that they were going to work with him once he came in, find a way to make things right this year, maybe even do an extension. And apparently, allegedly they've offered an extension with more money. Right now he's playing on the last year of a 3-year contract. He's due to make $14.5 million, but none of that's guaranteed. So understandably, from Reddick's side, he is, probably afraid to come in during training camp, get hurt, and then not make any money this year. For someone of his caliber, for how high of a level he's been playing the last 2 years, he's definitely underpaid. He's been underpaid most of his career. As fans, we definitely want to make sure that he's happy, he's gelling with the team, and he's making what he's worth. But, I think Reddick has reconsidered his position. Instead of coming in, finishing this last year, having a dominant year with the Jets defense, and then going for that big final contract, maybe a 3-4 year contract for the end of his career. Now he wants money right away. So it's definitely a mistake on Joe Douglas for not having this ironed out right away as soon as the trade happened. Even if they had a handshake agreement or an understanding, it's really important to make sure that when you do a trade like this, where you're giving up a third conditional second, that you get him in, happy, and ready to go for the season. Unfortunately, the Jets did not do that. So that's where we're at right now. Connor Hughes was at the Jets facility today. He's been following this story for a while. He's one of the Jets beat reporters, and he has his opinion on what went down and what's going to happen. So let's listen to him.
The Jets reported for training camp on Tuesday. One player who was not in attendance, it is Haasan Reddick, as he and the team remain at an impasse over his current contract. Before the Jets acquired Reddick in a trade from the Philadelphia Eagles, they offered him an extension. It wasn't going to be anything crazy, but it would have given him a raise on the $14.5 unguaranteed million he is set to make this year. Reddick said, no, the Jets said that is fine. We can discuss a potential adjustment to your current deal, basically taking some of that unguaranteed money and converting it to guaranteed salary, maybe add in some incentives, but any kind of major lucrative extension, we're not going to talk about that until you are here and you perform on the field for us. Reddick, he was on board with that. He told the team and members of the team he was going to be here for the offseason program, was going to be here for minicamp, and was going to be here for training camp, earn that mega money extension. At some point between those discussions that he had with the Jets during his physical and now, something changed because Reddick, he did not show up for the offseason voluntary program. He was not here for mandatory minicamp, and now as training camp begins, he is not here, and the Jets, they're not sure when he plans on showing up.
Yeah, so it's a difficult situation because everything else this offseason has gone really well for the Jets. Like I said, they filled all the pieces, all the holes in their roster that they needed to. And this was kind of the last piece. They've signed all the rookies. Everyone's in-house except for one of the better players, maybe second best, if not best, on the defense. So it's something that will get figured out soon, but it's going to potentially cost the Jets more than they were hoping for. He does have a significant mandatory fine for every day that he stays out of training camp, and it's something that he does not get back no matter what new deal they agree to. It's $50,000 a day, which is going to add up very quick for someone who is trying to keep and gain more money. He's not going to want to miss a lot of that. So that is going to help the Jets in a sense, get him to come to the negotiating table. They want him in the building before they negotiate anything else. He doesn't want to show up until he gets paid. So they are at an impasse. But, in terms of the team dynamics, I think it's not going to hurt them too much. Obviously, they're probably bummed that Huff is no longer in the building. He was a great team player, a good locker room guy. But I think they all know the impact that Haasan Reddick can have, especially at the end of games. He was huge for the Eagles, especially in the playoffs when you needed someone to make a big play, to sack the quarterback, to change the game in the fourth quarter with time running out. He is that guy, and he's someone that the Jets need if they want to be closing out games during the regular season, if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs, potentially even win a Super Bowl with some of the teams that they would have to go through in the AFC and potentially the NFC. They need their defense firing on all cylinders. So looking at Haasan Reddick's side of things, it is understandable where he's at right now. Like I said, his entire career, he has performed extremely well, and at every step of the way has never really gotten paid what he feels he deserves. And as soon as he gets to a team, he pretty much outplays his new contract. He came into the league, was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals, rookie contract, 4 years, about 13.5, 14 million, 8 million guaranteed. But his first 3 years were hit or miss. First year, 23 tackles, 1 sack. His second season, 80 tackles, 2.5 sacks in 16 games, including 12 starts. Year 3, he had 55 tackles, 3 sacks. But year 4, the final year of his rookie contract, is when he really broke out. He had 12.5 sacks that season, 63 tackles, and 4 forced fumbles. I think he was probably assuming that the Arizona Cardinals were going to pay him, and they did not. So he ended up having to take a 1-year deal with the Carolina Panthers in 2021 for $6 million, fully guaranteed. That year, he recorded 11 sacks, 51 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. Another big year, double-digit sacks. Probably assumed that the Carolina Panthers were going to pay him, and they did not. And then he went to the Eagles on a 3-year, $45 million deal, which he's still working through now. His first year, 2022, with the Eagles, he had 16 sacks, 55 tackles, 5 forced fumbles, an absolute monster year. At that point, I'm sure he felt he wasn't being paid enough and wanted to get paid more. The Eagles were not having it. 2023, he again had double-digit sacks, 11 sacks, 50 tackles, 1 forced fumble. Absolute monster for the Eagles. And what did they do to reward him? They traded him away to the Jets. They brought in Huff. That obviously created salary cap issues. There were a few players that they potentially needed to trade away and were worth something. And as it happened, the Jets now needed a player with his capabilities. And the deal was made on draft night. Again, it was a 3rd-round pick, which could be upgraded to a 2nd round, potentially. Obviously, he has to play for the Jets first. When he came in with the trade, it appears that Joe Douglas, Haason, and his team had an agreement that maybe they would work on guaranteeing some of that $14.5 million, giving him some incentives so that he can make more, possibly getting him over $20 million a year, closer to $22 million a year. And he would work out this last year of his contract on a stacked Jets defense, probably put up a ton of numbers, and then he'd be able to get paid again. Unfortunately, one thing that probably gave him a little bit more negotiation power was during the draft, the Jets decided to, instead of restructuring JFM's contract, trade him away. So instead of Haasan Reddick potentially having 55, 60, 65% of the snaps, he's now going to have to gain another 10 or 15% of the snaps. And with more work, obviously he wants to be paid more. It also means that the Jets are not as deep at that position anymore, which gave him and his team a lot more ability to push back on the Jets and push for this contract. Now, again, he can't hold out too long. Losing $50K a day, even for someone making $14 million a year, is not ideal. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be resolved this week, next week at the most. Definitely he's going to be on the field week 1, Monday Night Football against the 49ers, chasing down Purdy, having him run for his life. But it is unfortunate that he is not here with the team now. Again, totally understandable where he's coming from. Every step of his career, he's outperformed, and every step, no team has really given him that true big-time bag. I think based on reports, he's looking for around 25 to 28 million, which is something the Jets are not looking to pay. It's something the Jets can't pay without restructuring a couple of players. Right now, they have $6 million left in their salary cap. So even if they gave him all of that, that only puts him about $28.5 million, which apparently is not enough to make him happy. It'll be interesting to see what finally gets done. I assume, just based on the timeline of who we have to pay next year, Garrett Wilson's going to have to get paid. Breece Hall's potentially going to have to get paid. Elijah Vera-Tucker is going to have to get paid. So we can't be throwing $28 million at a pass rusher, but potentially, as Connor Rogers reported, they just give him more this year, guarantee more this year, give him incentives Something they've done with a lot of the players they brought in this year, give them big upside if they perform well. If they perform to that upside, we'll happily pay them because it probably means that we're a playoff team. We won the AFC East. We're making a deep playoff run. So that is probably where the Jets are going to fall. I think it'll be in the $20 to $22 million range, single year deal. Who knows? Maybe next year they bring him back on a 2-year deal. He is in his 30s. I probably doubt it. I think the Jets want to see what some of the younger players that they have at that position can grow into this year. McDonald really needs to perform. He really needs to show that it was worth drafting him early in the draft 2 years ago. And, for them, I think they want him for this year, make sure we have a strong season, and then he can go get paid elsewhere. We'll see how it goes. Again, nothing is ever easy with the Jets. No offseason is ever just a good time, good vibes. There's always some sort of drama. There's always some sort of problems that come up. God forbid Aaron Rodgers takes a trip to Egypt. But thank you for taking the time to check out this video. We continue to add more content to the channel, not just about the Jets, although this is my team. We're going to do a lot of training camp previews for a lot of the teams that we follow. We also cover all sports, NFL, NBA, some soccer, Olympics, baseball, hockey. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps us grow this channel and be able to spend time adding more content. So thank you for your time, and we'll be back soon with a new video.